Hey guys, this is Rocky from WeLearnChess.com, and I just came across a cool puzzle on the Chess.com Tactics Trainer, so I wanted to share that with you. So as you just saw here on the screen, Black played Queen takes H3, taking White's Queen, so White's now at a material deficit, and he better figure out something fast. So if you want to put your video on pause and find out what that is, then go ahead and do that. Alright, so White could promote this pawn, of course, on the G-file. But if he promotes to a queen, Black has the move, and there are probably various ways that Black could find to draw. So White actually has a better option here. As you probably figured out by the time I'm talking now, it's an under-promotion puzzle. So a lot of times when we under-promote to a knight, it's to get an important check in when the queen would not be able to check. And here that's the case. And now Black's king is in a mating net. It's kind of funny. I actually have mated with 3 or even more knights before, because sometimes when my opponent plays on time, like if he's totally lost and he's just playing on time, and sometimes it makes no sense, like I'll have 2 minutes on my clock or something and they'll be playing on time with like a king versus like half my pieces or something. So in those situations, sometimes I like to just get like 4, 5, 6 knights and just move them all over the board and checkmate them. It's kind of fun. You have to watch that you don't stalemate your opponent though. So I actually have seen some patterns with mating with 3 knights. You can actually mate with 2 knights, but it's not forced. Your opponent would have to really cooperate with you. You can force checkmate with 2 knights, and if there's a pawn on the board, your opponent's pawn. It's extremely difficult because you have to blockade the pawn so that it can't move, then use your other knight and your king to corral the other king into the corner. And then with the perfect move sequence, you have to get into a position where normally the king would be stalemated, but because he has a pawn on the board, he's forced to make a pawn move, and then you can give checkmate. It's really hard to do, especially within the 50-move limit. There are a couple of videos online. I'll try to include one here in this post. If you're on the YouTube channel, then just jump over to the blog at WeLearnChess.com, and the link will be over there. I know Green Castle Block has a video on that. I think he had an easy starting position in that video, so I'll try to find one where it's like completely done. But in any case, with 3 knights, it is easier to mate. So while I've been talking, maybe you've been looking at the position and checking this out. When I played this position, I made a mistake, a common mistake that I make, but I often try to talk about in my videos, and that's when you're on a king hunt, you want to try to keep the king corralled. So I played the wrong check here with this e-knight. The problem with this check is if you play knight e to f6 here, the black king can get away on the dark squares via g5 and then down this way. And once the king gets out, then it's too hard because black has a couple pieces where, at the very least, he could take one of the knights off the board or something. But it could even be worse for white. So it makes a lot more sense, of course, to check with this recently promoted knight, because not only does it help keep the king corralled, which is most important, but it also brings another attacker into the equation. And these 2 knights here, because they're on opposite colored squares, that means they're also hitting opposite colors. And if you look, they actually have the black king totally boxed in here. So this e4 knight has the 2 dark squares, and the f6 knight has the 2 light squares. There's a nice box here, and the black queen is doing us the favor of creating some sort of artificial corner here. Because usually when you mate the king with knights, it's in the edge of the board, whether it's this kind of crazy situation with 3 knights or just a situation where you have maybe a knight, a rook, and could be just a knight and a rook, or a knight, a rook, and a minor piece. It usually happens in the corner. Or if it's not in the corner, that means that the king is somehow blocked in, because there's usually 1 or 2 squares that have to be blocked off so the king can't run away. And here we have the king totally stalemated, and when that's the case, then you just have to find a way to give check, and the king will have nowhere to go. And you've probably found that by now while I'm babbling on, and that's this check over here to g6 and checkmate. So this is a nice little pattern here with the 3 knights. Also, sometimes the 3 knights are on the 3 squares right next to each other. That also can be made in a lot of cases. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed that puzzle there, and if you get some chance in your game to under-promote to some extra knights and play around, go ahead and have some fun with that, and I'll see you around.